Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the online conference of MOL Group's Petrochemicals business. Please let me introduce myself. My name is Piroska Bakos. I'm the spokesperson and the media relations lead of MOL. Today's professional event is called CIRCULARITY, powered by MOL Group. Why? Because our main topic areas are sustainability and the circular economy. We would like to present to you how MOL Group and the invited industry experts see the future of currently available polymer products and services and partnerships in the plastic industry. And we want to show you the solutions we offer to address the changes in the industry. The forum will feature 4 presentations and a panel discussion. During the presentations, you can ask questions to our experts via the chat interface on the site. Please take this opportunity and ask your questions. On the site, you can also find the detailed schedule of today's event and the introductions of our speakers and guests. Now, let us begin with a broader overview of MOL Group's long-term goals. Our first speaker will be Bence Körmendi, Director of Group DS Petrochemicals Business Unit, who will present our long-term strategy and its petrochemicals dimension. Bence, the floor is yours, please.
Welcome, dear partners, dear future partners. I'm going to talk about MOL 2030 Plus strategy and sustainability. My name is Bence Körmendi, and I'm the director of the Petrochemicals business unit in MOL Group. So how this 2030 Plus strategy was born? Basically, there are many external challenges around us, and this was triggered generally by the COVID crisis. But since then, we have seen many other things happening around us. The oil and gas industry was the strongest hit by the supply and demand shocks of the COVID crisis. And ever since, there are huge ups and downs in oil prices, in margins, and our industry is on a roller coaster. Climate change. Now, nobody anymore is arguing about climate change. It's happening, and we must do something about it. What about technology? Yeah, there are no breakthroughs yet in electric vehicle penetration. But the renewable energy has become a very hot potato nowadays. Also, there are new technologies like green hydrogen, like carbon capture and storage, like chemical recycling technologies. So a lot of things now are happening, and the world is really focusing on those innovations at the moment. Esg Revolution. So investors are increasingly integrating non-financial risks in their decisions. Also, oil companies were a net loser and are still a loser of the ESG-driven capital flows. So there is a strong pressure on us to do more and help to curb emissions, still provide mobility, and still provide petrochemicals to the world. COVID-19, by the time we were reshuffling our strategy, COVID-19 was the agenda, on the top of the agenda. Now, the Ukrainian conflict took over. But it's just a proof that we have to prepare for a lot of unexpected events. And we have to be agile, we have to adopt fast, and we have to really put emphasis on how we are dealing with those very rapid and drastic changes of the external environment. So, the 2030 Plus strategy. Basically, we believe that in 2016, we set the right direction. We set the right strategy. Because what did we say by then? We said that we would like to be more focused on petrochemicals. We would like to convert fuels to petrochemicals. And this still is our strategy. We delivered on our interim promises. We started the downstream transformation, and we really ensured a very strong consumer focus on our retail segment. So what changed? Basically, we now have to speed up this transition. Because the world changes faster than we thought, So we also have to change faster than we originally planned. Basically, we are now focusing more on accelerating the transformation from fuel to petrochemicals. Also, we must accelerate the reduction in emissions, in CO2 emissions and other emissions. And also, we must invest in low carbon and circular economy. And basically, the circular economy part is which is the newest in our 2030 plus strategy. So how do we integrate circular economy into our core business? In our feedstocks, we are already using some renewable electricity. We are also planning to use waste, much more waste as a feedstock into our products. And also in our operations, by using these products, we will produce sustainable fuels to our consumers so that they are also able to reach their sustainability targets. Also, that in our operations, we integrate recycling. We integrate mechanical and chemical recycling into our operations. And it doesn't only mean recycling of plastics. It could mean recycling a lot of things into more valuable products. And basically, we would like to partner with our customers in that circularity, which a good example is that with our German company, Aurora, is doing that. They are collecting back the waste of their customers and then producing again new first-class products from that waste. So that's a very good example how you can collaborate with your customers and ensure circularity and produce something which is again more valuable. So we are planning to do that in a much larger scale in all our downstream operations. So these are very ambitious targets. Where are we going to spend? We are going to spend generally $4.5 billion until 2030. And this $4.5 billion don't even consist the already spent 1.3 billion euros on polyols and the money we spend on the Rijeka delayed coker unit in Croatia. So this is a lot of money which is going to be spent in downstream to the transformation. And where exactly we are going to spend it? First of all, the smallest chunk is going to efficiency, which is the already mentioned INA delayed coker unit, which will help us to produce fuels in a more efficient way and to produce better yields, so better high value-added product ratio in our Rijeka refinery. Then the biggest chunk, 60% of this 4.5 billion, is going to be spent on the fuel transformation. And this fuel transformation is the most important part of our transformation from fuels to petrochemicals. We are planning to transform more than 2 million tons of fuels into petrochemical products. Our teams are very focused on working out the details. How is it exactly going to happen? And I promise you that whenever we have a good plan, we will share. Sustainability. 20% of the spending will go into sustainability. And part of this sustainability is on sustainable fuels, like the biofuel refinery project, even carbon capture and storage projects, which will help us to reduce the carbon footprint of our activities. The other part is spent on recycling, on mechanical recycling and waste to chemicals, which is somewhat the chemical recycling leg of our recycling project. And we are planning to ramp up our mechanical recycling activities in a few years' time. And we believe that by 2027, we will be able to already deliver some solutions on the chemical recycling part. Of course, chemical recycling is still something which is a very innovative and a very new thing. A lot of things are still moving. There are not yet mature technologies available. But we believe that we have to put our bets on the table already in a smaller stakes on multiple technologies that at the end we are there in competition when we will see which technologies will be the most efficient and the best to solve our plastic waste and waste problems. And regarding the value chain extension, there are two projects here. The polyol project, which is going to be finished already this year, and my colleague will talk about it in more details. And what is related to this polyol project is the metathesis. You might have already heard our announcement just a few weeks back that we are planning a metathesis, we are building a metathesis unit in Tiszaújváros, which will be ready already in 2025. And this metathesis unit will produce 100 kilotons of propylene additional to our current capacities. The purpose of this investment is to ensure that MOL Group remains self-sufficient in propylene even after the ramping up of the polyol production. And now I would like to pass the word to my colleague, Mr. László Somogyi, who is the head of the polyol sales and marketing team, who will talk about the polyol project in details in the following video message.
Welcome to Tiszaújváros, home of the new state-of-the-art polyol complex of MOL. We are right in the middle of the construction site. The complex will consist of 4 major production plants: the hydrogen peroxide plant, the propylene oxide plant, the propylene glycol plant, and the polyol plant. The polyol unit has 4 production lines, each with a yearly output of roughly 50,000 tons. Moreover, our half-ton pilot plant will ensure the successful scale-up from test volumes to commercial size production. All these facilities, together with many other utilities, are located at a 35-acre area, which is the same size as 50 soccer fields. Let me share with you a few more highlights of this 1.3 billion euro investment. The highest equipment is our 85-meter tall colonna, which is nearly as high as the Statue of Liberty in New York. 13,000 tons of steel were used during the building of steel structures, which would be enough to construct 2 more Eiffel Towers. So we have built in 71,000 cubic meters of concrete, 700 kilometers of pipes, and 2,500 kilometers of electric cables. The complex will be fully automated and will run on state-of-the-art technologies, providing jobs to a qualified staff of 200 people. Despite the severe logistics and supply chain constraints caused by the COVID-19 pandemic throughout the past 2 years, we managed to proceed with the project. Now I'm happy to share with you the overall completion of the construction stands already at 90%. The polyol volume our project will add to the polyurethane market will help stabilize the fragile supply-demand situation, especially in Europe, and increase local supply security to our future partners. Thank you.
Now that you have seen our polyol facilities, I would like to talk about polyols and PUR, so polyurethanes. Polyol is basically one of the ingredients of the polyurethane foams. The other one is the isocyanates. We will produce polyols in our facilities and propylene glycols, which are another product group for another application. In polyurethanes, it's a 6.5 million tons market. Basically, it is split into 3 different segments: the flexible foam segment, the rigid foam segment, and the case segment, which case is a mosaic word. It stands for coatings, adhesives, sealants, and elastomers. Where is going to be our focus? Basically, flexible foams are used in mattresses, in automotive seating, in furniture, and in several parts of the automotive industry. Basically, this flexible foam segment is the one where we are targeting to enter with our initial product portfolio. We would like to focus on this segment first the most, and then we are also putting our focus on rigid foams. Rigid foams are insulating panels, refrigerators, sprayed foam insulation solutions, pipe-in-pipe insulation solutions. Rigid foams already a bit more specialized applications in the polyurethanes, and the case segment is the most challenging, where there are millions of different applications and very special products. We are also targeting the case segment, we believe that as we are getting more and more accepted and known on the market, we are going to put more our focus into the more specialized segments. Most of our partners, most of you in front of the screens, are partners for us in polymers. So you might be curious about what are we planning in case of polymers. What I can say is that in polymers, we trust. Why do we trust in polymers? Let me show you some market insights. We still believe that demand expectations remain strong in case of polymers. And both globally and also in Europe, this market will be a good, strong market. Of course, demand for recyclates is booming. It's booming especially in Europe, and it's gonna take its chunk from the virgin plastic needs. Still, we believe this is the reason why we as polymer producers must participate in developing circular solutions. We must participate in that, and we will, because we believe that plastics are a solution and not a problem. And we, you and us together, we should work on that to communicate even to the world that with plastics, you can actually live more sustainable and make it more sustainable. But for that, you also have to participate very strongly in the circular economy together. So what actions are we doing in our virgin polyolefin products, which are helping us to become more efficient and to develop products which help to achieve our sustainability targets? Basically, we have a vision in transactional excellence that we would like to be able to respond to any customer inquiry in 24 hours. Also, we want to increase our service levels and efficiency by digitization. And basically, these two targets are somewhat interrelated because we are able to react faster and better if we have all our processes digitized, and what can be automated is automated. That's what we are focusing on now. Also, we launched a new model, a market developer model, and some of you might have already met our market developers in order to facilitate product developments and selling these newly developed higher value-added products. And of course, these higher value-added products can be products which are actually designed and made for recycling, made for recyclability. So we can even support sustainability with our virgin polyolefin products. And of course, last but not least, we are adding recyclates and compounds to our product portfolio. And I will talk about it later on a bit more in details. So, at the moment, we have 1.1 million tons of polyolefin products sold as virgin polyolefins. And with the recent acquisition of Remat, we are adding to that 16,000 tons of regranulates. And also with the Aurora Kunststoffe, our compounder, recyclate-based compounder in Germany, we add 15,000 tons more per year for the recyclate-based compounds. So in total, we are in between 2 and 3% of recyclates in our total product portfolio. And our ambition for 2030 is 15% of our sales will consist of mechanical and chemical recycled regranulates and recompounds and compounds. Basically, this can be reached by adding more than 100,000 tons of capacity in recycling and in compounding each. This is a very ambitious target, but we are already working on that, and we already had some announcements. So let me show you a timeline. Where are we on this journey and where are we heading to? We acquired Aurora in 2019. This company is producing really high quality recompounds and recycles industrial waste, basically in specialty polymers. And basically on the knowledge of our own R&D and together with Aurora know-how, we started our own compound developments in 2020, which is aiming on automotive. And these own compound developments are basically recycled-based compounds mostly. And we also signed a partnership for these recycled-based compound developments with Meraxis in 2020. In 2021, so just last October, we launched our polypropylene compound portfolio on the Fakuma Fair in Germany. And we are continuing developing more and more polypropylene compounds, especially looking at compounds which are consisting of also repolymers and regranulates. What we do in recycling? We just recently announced the acquisition of Remat, a market-leading recycler in Hungary. That just happened in the beginning of April. And we are working on expanding Remat activities and other recycling activities further to reach our very ambitious goals in 2030. This is all what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Bence. Now let's take a closer look at the specific objectives of MOL Group and the steps we have taken so far to team up with plastic manufacturers in achieving sustainability and circular economy. Kurt Schäffran, MOL Business Development Program Manager, will show you how MOL has developed a sustainable chemical portfolio over the past years.
Hi everyone, my name is Kurt Schäffran. I am a program manager within MOL's downstream division. As you know well, MOL is an integrated oil and gas company with our core downstream portfolio in polypropylene and high and low density polyethylene, where we sell over 1 million tons per year. Our vision is to be a player and a large player in the low carbon economy in Central and Eastern Europe region. MOL's 2030 strategy aims to transform our traditional fossil fuel-based company into a more sustainable one. As a quick introduction to this, I would like to show a quick video on this.
MOL Group's long-term strategy, Shape Tomorrow 2030 Plus, aims to transform the traditional fossil fuel-based operations into a low-carbon, sustainable business model. Our vision is to be a key player in the low-carbon circular economy in Central and Eastern Europe. Thus, we will invest $1 billion in new sustainable businesses in the next 5 years. In response to changing demands, we are expanding our integrated value chain with tailor-made PP compounds. This allows us to become a full solution provider to the automotive, home appliances, electronics, and furniture industries in Europe. We are offering expertise all along the value chain, from developing innovative products through securing virgin and recyclate feedstock to compounding with technical service.
Extending the polypropylene value chain with high quality, high value added products, at the same time also providing sustainable solutions to our customers, is a key part of our strategy.
Reacting to future needs for sustainable requirements on the market, we acquired Aurora Kunststoffe, a German compounder with a sustainable business model based on 100% recycled material feedstock. Aurora's value chain is based on its unique lean logistics concept. Pre-sorted, post-industrial plastic residues are collected directly from partner companies. It supports the waste management activity of our partners and grants us high-quality raw materials. Regrinding and recompounding take place at one of Aurora's highly automated modern facilities. This flexible setup allows us to create specialty, customized compounds for particular applications, even in smaller batches.
To comply with the high-quality requirements of our customers, there's our state-of-the-art production setup, including different measures to detect and eliminate potential quality issues.
At last, the high-quality granules are delivered back to the original supplier or to a new, environmentally responsible partner. Together with Aurora, we develop various PP compounds with up to 100% polypropylene recyclate content, reinforced with glass fiber and mineral fillers, mainly for the applications in the automotive segment. Every one of our compounds are tailor-made and always suit our partners' needs. From interior applications like door, seat, and dashboard components, to exterior applications like light housing, and front-end modules, as well as different under-the-hood parts.
Recyclate compounds are a really important part of our strategy. Every company that we've been talking to is trying to push the boundaries with how much recyclate they could have in their polypropylene compounds, and we would like to be a partner of choice with these customers along their journey to using more recyclate and to being more of a green company.
MOL Group's mission is to become a net zero CO2 emitter by 2050, to build up a greener and more sustainable world. With our resilient and integrated business model, we are ready to solve different challenges in a more sustainable way. Our journey has just started for a better future, where the circular economy is an evident part of our lives. Stepping into the PP compounding business is an important milestone along this amazing journey.
We have already started our transformation of moving beyond the commodities and adding sustainable chemical portfolio with our product launch of the polypropylene compounds with up to 100% recyclate. We will build off the progress over the past couple years and further add more recyclate and compounding products to our portfolio. Our new recycling and compounding businesses will target all of MOL's core segments and product applications, including both flexible and rigid packaging, automotive, building and construction, and electronics and appliances. We aim to have a portfolio that offers an additional 200,000 tons of new products to our virgin portfolio by 2030. Most of the 200,000 tons will have some percentage of recyclate in them. For example, a tailor-made compound with recyclate, a blend with recyclate and virgin, and even products with 100% recyclate. We will do this through our own production, through organic investment, through further acquisitions, and through partnerships along the entire value chain, for example, with our strategic partner, Meraxis. In fact, MOL will invest over $1 billion in sustainable businesses in the next 5 years. We already have a portfolio of compounding and recycling technologies that we've invested in, and more is to come in the next years. The first major recycling technology that we will focus on is mechanical recycling, where the plastic is grinded and melted back into a granule with either post-consumer, post-commercial, or post-industrial waste. In 2019, reacting to the future needs of sustainable products, MOL acquired Aurora Kunststoffe, a German recyclate compounder that's focused on its unique lean logistics concept, which receives pre-sorted post-industrial plastic residues from its partner companies. The high-quality raw material is then regrinded and recompounded in one of Aurora's highly automated modern facilities. The feedstock and the final products are similar to what is in automotive typically. So for example, polypropylene, polyamide, ABS, and others. The flexible setup allows us to create specialty, unique compounds, and we can even make the compounds in small batches. We are very happy to have recently announced that MOL acquired a mechanical recycler, Remat, in April of this year. Remat is a leading Hungarian mechanical recycler that uses communal and industrial waste to create regranules. The company prepares a wide range of polyethylene and polypropylene regranules and tailor-made products. Remat has automated selecting systems, cleaning, and regranulating equipment from leading suppliers. With this acquisition, MOL will be able to develop tailor-made virgin and recyclate solutions to fulfill the ever-increasing demand of our customers for circular materials. There are two other technologies, solvent-based recycling and chemical recycling. However, at this time, there hasn't been any investments in these two technologies yet. We have ambitions to integrate these two technologies into our operations, and the investigation of the investment is ongoing. Building on our existing virgin polyolefin strengths and brands, including Tiplin, Tipilin, Bralin, and others, we would like to introduce some new brand names for a new sustainable product portfolio that we will be offering. First, we have Aurora brand names that will continue to be the same. So for example, Aurora Mid for polyamide 6 and 6,6, Aurora Dur for PBT, and Aurora Blend for polycarbonate and ABS blends, and there are several other brand names that they're currently using as well. These compounds are made from 100% recycled material, as explained earlier. In addition to these compounds made from 100% recyclate, we will also have a portfolio of 100% polyolefin recyclate that are not filled, which means that the waste will just get transformed back into a regranulate. The brand names for these will be called Revolution. Revolution products are regranules, whereas Aurora products are recompounds. We understand that all customers may not want to buy 100% recyclate and just have a drop-in substitution into their current production. Therefore, we would like to introduce Remelin, which are polypropylene compounds and blends with recyclate, and also Remolite, which are blends with polyethylene and virgin. Here the distinction is that there's some virgin polyolefin in the product. We strive to have a solution that is as same or as close to as the virgin specifications. Lastly, if there are still strict requirements and a polypropylene tailor-made product is required, then we would like to offer Primolin. The Primolin product will be 100% virgin-based polypropylene compound, which the polypropylene will come from either Slovnaft or MPC. With these new brands and products, we will have a comprehensive portfolio to address the future industry needs. We envision to have a standard portfolio of recyclate and compound products that we will develop for our target markets. For example, a polypropylene compound with 20% talcum for the under-the-hood automotive applications, to a high-density polyethylene blend with up to 50% recyclate for blow molding, and many other standard portfolio of products. From there, then we would like to work with potential customers to transform these into a tailor-made product that is based on the individual needs. We also are available to develop a unique solution, and we have many examples of projects we're working on this. Our mission is to be a carbon-neutral energy business and meet the growing demand of sustainable products for a greener future. Our journey started in 2019 with the acquisition of Aurora, and we are well on our way to making sure that the circular economy is embedded in our DNA. Our commitment should be visible with the investments over the past couple years, the partnerships that we have formed, and the alliances that we are part of. For instance, with the alliance and participation in the Circular Plastics Alliance. We will continue to listen, to learn, and to work with the relative stakeholders to reach our sustainability targets, and we would like to help support our customers in their sustainability journey as well.
Thank you very much, Kurt. We heard about the latest investments and developments aimed at achieving sustainability objectives. And we heard about which markets and customer needs MOL want to satisfy through the product lines developed. Let's talk about these promising products. Zoltán Székvölgyi, Head of Group Polyolefin Product Development, will present the latest innovations of MOL Group. And remember, you can send us questions on the chat, which will be answered by our experts later in the event.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zoltán Székvölgyi. I'm leading the polyolefin product development at MOL. Today, I will provide you the guide and let you know some basics information about what we are doing right now, what's happening on the polyolefin product development field. And just to be aware of, I brought myself an explanation. Behind me on the infographics, you can see several aspects, several standpoints and areas, which was a part of it. I brought myself an explanation from the European Union to clarify this. And the European Union says, based on my free translation actually, to meet with the recent generation necessity, but doing this in a way that we can avoid to harm the future generation needs. For MOL, this is actually a kind of corporate commitment. we are going to maximize the stakeholder values on long term, and we are doing this in a way as we can prepare harmonization and balance between the social, environmental, and also the economic factors. And we are doing this in a high integrity and transparent way. Personally, I believe that I'm the lucky guy, and the reason is simply that because at polyolefin product development, we do not need to make any, let's say, pragmatic change, because even in the past, it was in the focus to reduce our biological footprint. So actually, the biggest difference between what we did in the past and what we are doing right now is that we should think to the design phase, to the product, as not just simply a product, but this is also a feedstock for the future. And this is the main difference, and this is what we're going to apply on 3 different areas. Actually, one is the virgin, the second is the compounding, and the third on the recycling product development. In terms of the virgin side, we are going to leave the low value product, replace them, and through on these activities, provide higher value added products for our customers, for our partners. On the compounding field, actually, we are developing mainly polypropylene compounds together with our subsidiaries, Aurora. The recycling is our biggest portfolio from development point of view. And the reason is simply that we believe that there isn't any single solution which can work in this area properly. But let's start first some examples to bring closer to the facts and provide you some tangible benefits. And one of them actually is these 2 grades, which both go into the blow molding application. One is appropriate up to 5-liter bottle cell canisters. The next one is actually up to 20 or even 200 liters. Here the target was that not just fulfill all the requirements, but provide a long-term stability for the grades. And on the infographics right now, you can see that after multiple extrusion, our grades is capable to provide almost the totally same physical properties in comparison with other competitors on the market. The next example is also a blow molding grade. However, this grade goes to the automotive. And the reason why we start this development was a significant trend on the market, which is showing us the hybrid car, plug-in hybrid, and the standard hybrid number will increase for the future in the future. This grade not just rigid enough and has got pretty good impact properties and resist of the chemicals, different kind of fuels, but additionally, during the development, we targeted that to being able to resist the different heat impact, which will come if we are think to a hybrid car. The next area is compounding. Why compounding and why the automotive? That's an absolutely logical question. And the answer is written in the 2030 plus MOL strategy. First, we believe that we need to make a transformation from the fuel to the chemical petrochemical business. And one element there is definitely to expand the portfolio. And this expansion could be the compounding in our life, because we have good virgin materials, we have the knowledge there, and we can improve it further, and we can be there and be a partner for different supplier in the value chain. Additionally, there is a definite trend there because the weight reduction is right now is ongoing, and the quite expensive engineering plastic could be replaced with special PP compounds on different areas. examples are right now in my pocket, and I'm going to share with you some nice figures about. First of all, 30% glass fiber reinforced polypropylene compounds, where the definite target was during the design phase to provide a material which is really good from processing point of view. As you can see on the graph, we could fulfill these requirements, especially all the physical properties meet with the expectation, and not just based on virgin compound, but also those one which contains 30 or 40% recyclate. At this product, the important thing was the thermal resistivity. This was definitely in the focus. And additionally, what we would like to provide for this surge tank application is a really good Sharpie impact. And the last one in the compounding portfolio right now, a 20% talcum filled material, mainly for the hot ventilation system. And here, as you can see, we also can provide a material which fulfill all the requirements. We also realize that here we need to do further improvements, because if the organoleptic feature is a key element, then we need to further improve this grade, and this is something which is going even right now. My last point today is the recycling, and because my colleague Kurt Schäffran has already spoken about, I'm just going to highlight two important things here. One is that the key element here, absolutely how you can get access for feedstock, both quality and volume-wise. And that's the biggest challenge. And this is the reason why we are in connection with several companies, institute, and going to develop together, because this is that place where you cannot provide solution alone. And this story, as you can see on the infographics, starting from the feedstock, and of course the next step, they are the separation, 2 or even 3 steps separation are already there. And then we get the point when we can recycle it back and put it back into the circle. In the graphics, with the brownish background, you can see all the area where we are working with different partners, companies or institutes. Let's say light red is representing where we have already project and going to deliver. And the green one is that where polyolefin product development is provided leads. And we are going to achieve good and great quality, as you can hear, really close to the virgin one. And how running actually these kind of developments, you can see in the graphs. So first we should understand very well what is your requirements, and then transform that to the language of the molecules. And right after that, the most important, find the appropriate feedstock volumetrically and quality-wise. When we have already access, then we start the lab scale development. When we achieve the properties, we are making customer tests, and after that could come the scale-ups and the industrialization. So this is how it works in our case at MOL Polyolefin product development. We're providing right now for you a short video to get more look into it. Thank you very much for your kind attention. See you later.
Our ever-changing environment and the challenges that arise regardless of borders and continents motivate us to change and to act in hope of a better future. Along this journey, the development of our polyolefin products will play a key role. In a classical setup, the development starts in laboratory reactors, where properties of our new polymer grade are mapped. Along each step carried out, we keep an eye on the goal and analyze the produced polymers to make sure that we're getting closer to reaching the expected results. By doing so, we can ensure that the polymer matrix is ready for the next step, a trial in one of our commercial size units. But this is only the beginning. Beyond our goals of developing suitable polymers, we aim to produce new grades and materials containing 30 to 50 to 70% recycled plastic. Our goal is to keep the quality of our recyclate-based materials in all cases on the same levels set for our virgin polymers, or to only differ in an acceptable level required by the application. Therefore, our processes and equipment park were tuned to meet this demand. All components are carefully prepared, grounded and cleaned before they're fed into our machines to modify them and to bestow new properties upon our products. Not just classical characterization methods such as CXS or DSC are being used to thoroughly analyze our products, but new measurements such as FNCT analysis, high temperature tensile tests, and even low temperature impact tests as well. Thus, we can make sure that our goals are reached and the customer tests can begin in the final application area. Although having modern equipment and characterization methods can help us greatly to turn our ideas into reality, the key to our success lies elsewhere. Getting closer to our partners along the whole value chain, both inside and outside our company, is the key. Only together, hand in hand, can we create real value for the next generations.
Thank you very much for this informative presentation, Zoltán, and welcome to the first Q&A session. And let me also welcome back our previous speakers, Bence and Kurt. We will have 20 minutes for the questions. We've got a lot. So due to this limited time, we try to focus on those questions which was not answered beforehand. However, all answers will be available on the website for a week after this event. Now let's see the questions. The first one is, does MOL plan to increase virgin polyolefin production? Bence, this goes to you.
Yeah, so basically I talked about in my presentation about our plans to convert more fuels to petrochemicals. And basically if we convert more fuels to petrochemicals, we will have more monomers and we could have more polymers at the end. However, we have not yet any confirmed projects in the pipeline. This is why in our official communication, we don't communicate about this because it's just something we can expect on the long run.
Okay. The second question, will the mechanical recycled PP be food contact? Zoltán.
Yes, that's a quite challenging question, to be honest. It can be in the future, but very recently, those PCR sources, what we can get is not appropriate very recently. So within a year, I don't believe MOL will appear on the market with a product which can get food contact right now. The regulation is quite strict. There are a lot of discussion right now about Annette is already spoke about, and you can hear from her soon some additional infos about the regulatory field.
Okay, thank you. I think the next question goes to you as well. What is the realistic timeline to reach the 100 kiloton recycling material?
The 100 kilotons recycled material, I think I passed the word to
Curtis.
Kurt for a while.
Our target for the 100,000 tons of recycled materials by 2030. We're planning to do this both with continued inorganic and organic growth. So if we're able to make some strategic acquisitions, then hopefully we can get this before 2030. But our main target is by 2030.
2030, okay. How much PCR volumes out of your 100 kilotons?
I could take this one as well. So this is, I wish I had a magic ball and can say by 2030 what is the percentage of PCR that would be in our portfolio. But we know that by some EU regulations that it's expected about 25 to 35% of PCR content in packaging, and packaging is a very big part of our portfolio right now. So we imagine that probably this 25, 35%, if we take into consideration the other markets that we're in as well.
Okay, question regarding PCR again. When will PCR material be available in MOL portfolio?
The short answer is right now. The long answer is that our current assets that we have are Aurora Kunststoffe and Raymat. Aurora Kunststoffe, as I said in my presentation, is focused on post-industrial recyclate, and Raymat has a combination of post-industrial and post-consumer. So Raymat right now is delivering products with post-consumer, and when we're looking at the products that we're currently developing, so in the R&D, they are focusing their efforts on post-consumer recyclate development.
Yeah.
How much recycling capacity will come on stream in the next 2 years? This is the next question.
I would take it. So basically, as Kurt already mentioned, we are working on several projects in the recycling. However, we don't want to comment on any exact figures yet. What is important is that we have both organic and inorganic projects on the table in the pipeline now, even for the coming years.
Okay. Another interesting topic, the chemical recycling. Does MOL plan to use this one? When it is expected to be implemented?
Yeah, the short answer definitely, because as I mentioned in the presentation, so we believe that the combination will be the solution. So there isn't one single solution on the market as we can achieve the targets there. So yes, a separate project are working right now, and hopefully the final investment decision will happen end of the year, beginning of next year. To say an exact date when the own asset start to operate, it's really hard in nowadays. I mean, if you take into consideration all the circumstances, but yes, realistically, within 3.5 years could be. But let's see then.
Let's see. Yeah. Next question: is the production of bio-based polymers included in MOL's plan?
Actually, bio-based polymers we see as a niche, so we have not in focus bio-based. We believe that our competencies as a company are more on the virgin polymer production, on the chemical recycling, as Zoltán mentioned, and on the mechanical recycling. So this is our main focus at the moment. Using the bio-based feedstock for some of the products could happen in the future.
Thank you. Hello there. I have a short question regarding Rimolen. Can we custom the percentage of recyclate virgin in the purchased PP?
Actually, yes. So, you know, all the products are really tailor-made on the recycling field. And, you know, we should first understand well what is the requirement, then check what kind of source available. And we normally make some preliminary tests, let's say, and based on that we can continue the development for it. And yeah, the expectation is quite important. Sometimes we can even go with higher one, 70, but some cases the requirements is quite strict, quite strong. Then yeah, sometimes even the 30% is relatively high.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, so for the polypropylene compound portfolio, which includes the Rimolen, we would like to emphasize that it is very tailor-made. So if we work with the customers and then also the development colleagues, then we can find a solution that can work for the application.
Okay. Is there a recycled PP plan that fulfills EU flammability standards?
Yeah, as a plan for sure, but that's definitely a challenging part. I mean, if you take into the PCR recycled already into the matrices, that's be a challenge. However, my stuff I'm sure about ready to deal with. So definitely, I hope, as I mentioned a little bit, the situation is similar than in the other case. So within a year, I'm not sure.
Okay. What is the ratio of post-consumer and post-industrial waste MOL is using for recycling?
Yeah, so with our current assets with Aurora, they're most basically on post-industrial. With Raymat, they have a mixture of post-industrial and post-consumer. In the future, like I was saying before, that we see this 20, 25, 35% that we will need. So we're just going to see how the market evolves, see where the EU regulations are going, seeing what the customer demands are, and then we will go from there. But we do anticipate that we will have a certain percentage of post-consumer, and we'll have a certain percentage of post-industrial as well.
Stick on this topic, will MOL be involved in waste management?
What is known, I think, for everyone, because it was public news, that MOL was applying for the Hungarian waste concession. And this is still in progress, so nothing is decided yet. We do hope that we will be involved, because then our recycling strategy will get definitely a boost from the feedstock side.
Okay, but this is not.
But this is not confirmed yet. We are in the process of the tender.
Okay. Besides pyrolysis, with what other chemical solutions does MOL deal with?
Okay, let's say in the mapping phase, we are also dealing with gasification with different institutes and universities. And even within pyrolysis, to change the condition of the pyrolysis, use special atmosphere, etc. So these are under investigation. Of course, this is a classic, let's say, research and innovation activities at MOL. So we are with the mapping phase right now.
Okay. Have you taken over the complete material portfolio of Aurora by its acquisition?
Basically, we took over the company. So generally, this is a separate business within MOL. So Aurora is still selling its own products to its customer base. We have certain synergies in product developments, in how the business model operates, which we are leveraging on. But Aurora has its own product portfolio.
Can we have one point of contact for all recycled material, or are Aurora, Rimat, Meraxis different businesses?
Very good question.
As you mentioned.
We are, as I said, Aurora remains a separate business, because definitely Aurora is dealing with specialty polymers as well, and also it's a special business model, which in the future we are trying to leverage on. Regarding recycling, we see definitely a big synergy with our existing polyolefin sales activities. So there we are planning to merge the recycling and the virgin polyolefin sales activities, so that the same salespeople, the same technical people would be supporting our customers to get the proper virgin and recyclate materials. In terms of compounding, that's a very, very special technical business. So there we plan to have a separate staff for the compound developments and sales.
Okay. Why MOL Group, mainly involved in PO business, started his investment by acquiring Aurora, this recycling company mainly involved in engineering polymers?
Okay, so I would take this one as well. So what we saw in Aurora as a big potential is the special business model they are operating, basically, with the recollection of industrial waste from its clients and having very pure recyclates. And Aurora is, of course, focused on engineering plastics, but it has its polypropylene portfolio as well, which we see certain synergies with. And also we see certain synergies by actually putting this Aurora business model into our Central European region, which we are also working on.
Next question. Is there possibility to test some final products which is made from recycled materials, for example, bottle, and check whether it really contains recycled materials?
Yes, there are, limited. The volume, of course, and the number is limited, but yes. So available in different different size and shapes. And the technical available, at the customers, yes, they can even check with DSC or FTIR what is the content of the recycled, if they are capable of it.
Okay, thank you. Does MOL deal with compound solutions containing natural fibers or other sustainable fillers? When are they expected?
Yeah, in our portfolio, when we started out with the polypropylene compounds, we wanted to have a base portfolio. So we focused on minerals and then also glass fibers. And then we know that not only the products would need to be some type of sustainable with recyclate in them, but we also want to look at all the other additives and fillers that are going into this. So we did start a project looking at the natural fibers. We're still early into the project, but this is something that we would like to offer in the future as in our portfolio.
Okay, thank you. Are more PP compounds available?
Yes, so the quick answer is yes. We So Aurora is a polyamide compounder, but they do have extra capacity, so we're using this capacity for the production of the polypropylene compounds. So we do have the products available. We actually have a pretty healthy sized portfolio of both virgin polypropylene compounds and also polypropylene compounds with Recyclates. And we do have a production site for it as well. So we are ready to sell.
Okay. Since MOL is now into compounding, should compounders buying PP from MOL now see the MOL Group as a competitor?
Okay, I would take this one. So I believe that we would not be the only polyolefin producer who is getting into compounding. And that does not mean that we don't want to or we are not willing to collaborate and cooperate with our compounder customers. They are our valuable customers, even if we enter into the compounding market. We are not making it a secret that we have a very ambitious plan on entering into compounding. However, it doesn't mean that we want to break connections with our compounder customers.
Okay. What is the current capacity of recycling and compounding now, so at the moment?
In Ben's presentation, he showed that right now at Aurora, it's around 15,000 tons. Raymont, if we look at the nominal capacity, it's around 25,000 tons, but the current production is 17,000 tons. So in overall, the nominal capacity is around 40,000 tons that we could produce of sustainable materials.
Okay. Does MOL have plans what type of recycled materials they are going to produce? What type of?
Yeah. Here the question is the type. What does it mean, the type of? But okay, I can start. And please, Ben, then add what you would like. So actually, in the blow molding application, we have several solutions already. So in terms of the HDP products, in terms of the PP, like the furniture, automotive, front-end carrier, what I presented, or also the surge tank was presented there. So there are several already. And yeah, we're planning to extend further, of course. So the cosmetics is quite challenging in terms of the migration level, how we can fulfill all the requirements. So that's definitely a target right now from development point of view.
No, but I just wanted to add, if we talk about types of like bigger groups of LDP, HDP, basically Remat, who we acquired just recently, is mainly focused on LDP film recycling. And basically Aurora is focused on engineering plastics and polypropylene recycling. So HDP, we are running the project of having HDP blend product portfolio. So we are putting bets on every single type of product and a lot of applications. And we definitely have an ambition to be competitive, to have a competitive offer both on polypropylenes and polyethylenes in recycling.
Do you measure CO2 reduction induced by recycling?
Actually, in Aurora, for example, we do have measurements about it, and Aurora is positioning itself as well as a company who is saving resources for its customers and for its partners. We definitely see this as a huge advantage of such collection and mechanical recycling, what Aurora is doing.
Does the purchased company get a carbon footprint certificate for grades?
Not yet. Not yet. We are working on such certifications that could prove the sustainability towards their customers as well.
Okay. How will you comply with enhanced regulations in automotive like the GRDSL statement when selling mechanically recycled PP?
Wow, that's a quite challenging question.
And a very detailed one.
Yeah. Well, I think who asked this definitely thought about actually, to get a source where the quality is quite constant. That's the difficulties always. So how I can image to really fulfill all these quite strict requirements as a regulatory, we need to build up some closed loop which can help, to really fulfill as such. And how did the loops itself is robust enough to continuously provide the same quality. So that's will be the challenge. And yeah, almost the hardest part.
I'd like to add to that. So Aurora is also an automotive supplier. A large percentage of their portfolio is going to the automotive. So they are recycling, they are compounding, so they're doing it quite well. We can learn from them, and if something is changing in the market about certain requirements needed or paperwork needed, this is something that we will get information from them and then be able to bring it also into the virgin polypropylenes with Recyclate if we have a different production site or so.
Okay, a next question, and as I see our time is over, so we will have maybe this one as last. I see the hot topic is PP, but the market of re-HDPE is already existing. Is MOL ready to sell from the standard grades? If not now, when?
Can I take it? Okay. Then basically why PP is a hot topic, because PP compounds and recompounds we have already started to market and already started to produce in Aurora. Basically HDPE, where we are developing these HDPE blends, which we are now coming to the market with. So we are definitely willing to sell re-HDPE, and also when we are expanding our capacities in mechanical recycling, re-HDPE is among also the candidates to produce.
Thank you very much. Our time is over, but as I mentioned, other questions will be not left unanswered. We will do our best to answer them on the microsite after the event. And I saw questions regarding if the presentations will be available. You will see all the videos what we got, and you will have these videos with the presentations of our presenters. And I saw other very detailed questions, for instance, contact person in Romania. I think we will answer this question as well on the site and directly to the one who questioned this. Thank you very much again. Our next session is a panel discussion on the EU regulatory environment for the industry. I will ask our MOL expert to join me in the studio, and 2 of our expert guests will attend the discussion online. That's why we will take a short technical break so that our guests could take their seats here and get connected online. Till then, please watch a short film on MOL Group's Petchem business.
Have you ever thought about how polymers surround us everywhere? Wherever you go, you'll find them. Even if it's hard to notice at first, they protect us every day. Polymers can also ensure that everything works properly, because they're fundamental. And if you look a little closer, you can find them in the most unlikely places. Hiding under the hood or below the surface. And they follow you home at the end of a long day. To be part of your everyday life, to make your bonds a bit stronger, even if they serve only as a kind gesture. Now you remember? So next time, just try to see for yourself how important they are. Because really, they surround you everywhere. But we need to be responsible with them. Because separation of plastic waste at home is the key to a greener future. We at MOL Group work to satisfy your needs, and together we can build a circular economy.
Welcome back, everybody. As I mentioned before the break, now we'll talk about the regulatory requirements under the EU Green Deal. We would like to go through the key points of this with you in the next 20 minutes. Let me welcome our guests. With me in the studio, Annette Toth, Senior Expert from MOL EU Regulatory Affairs. Welcome. And let me warmly welcome our two guests online. Firstly, Sophia Huber, Packaging Innovation Research Scientist from Reckitt Benckiser, and Marco Mensing, Director General of CEFIC, European Chemical Industry Council. Thank you very much for accepting our invitations. So let's start. In the recent years, plastic industry has been facing enormous and non-stop pressure from environmental organizations and the society as well. We've all seen this. 9 in 10 Europeans are worried about the environmental impacts of everyday products made of plastic. What is the answer of EU? Regulations. Politicians and legislators have increased their focus on plastics and are working to boost recycling, curb plastic waste, and drive investment into circular solutions. Annette, I turn to you. What are the main areas of this regulatory action?
Thank you. So EU regulations on the circular economy aim to target the entire life cycle of plastics. So these go all the way from the way products are designed through their sustainable consumption and all the way to their end of life in terms of reducing the production of waste and also increasing reuse and recycling. So I would say there are 3 areas that are really today in regulatory focus. Firstly, product-related requirements, so increasing recycled content, increasing recyclability of products. Secondly, at the end of life, improving waste management, increasing recycling and reuse. And all over this, there is something that is increasing, which is looking at the environmental and climate-related impacts of the circular economy. So looking at the carbon footprint of products and also of production processes. And this third area is really important also in the context of the EU Green Deal, which aims to achieve climate neutrality and zero emissions basically by 2050.
Our next question goes to Marco. Europe's chemical industry is a crucial element of almost all value chain. Currently, the chemical industry is heavily reliant on fossil resources as feedstock, resulting in a linear economic model. In contrast, the circular economy aims to construct a loop in which waste is repurposed as feedstock. Marco, what is the chemical industry's ambition? How can it contribute to the circular economy principles?
Thank you so much for the question, and thanks for having me with you today. Our ambition is to remain the strongest chemical industry in the world, which we are, and find the strength that Europe has. And no surprise to you today with the ongoing debate on natural gas, oil and coal supply to the European Union, that having the feedstock and having the energy is of existential need for the industry in Europe. If you analyze, we don't have the shale gas like in the US. We neither have the number of engineers like China, but what we do have is the infrastructure in Europe to recycle. We have the population to recycle. An ambition in that sense is that Europe would recycle all its waste, which would become feedstock for our industry. And all our products are turned into a circular economy, not only for the environmental gain, not only to help protect the climate, but very practically because it could bring us a supply of feedstock that we need to stay competitive. And if you talk about the circular economy, I'd like to stress those 2 points. Circular, very much supported. economy also very much support it. We strive for a circular economy that's affordable, that reduces our OPEX, and that makes a cost level where we can sell products on the market.
Thank you. Annette, you mentioned product-related requirements like recycled content targets that can increase circularity in the economy. What are the EU's existing and future plans in this area?
Okay, so for plastics, the first existing recycled content targets were set for single-use beverage bottles, which need to achieve a 30% recycled content by 2030. But this was really just the start, because the European Commission is now working on a lot of other sectors where they want to introduce recycled content targets. One of those is packaging, the other one is automotive, and the third is construction. For packaging, where we are expecting a proposal in July this year, they are really aiming to increase the targets even for beverage bottles. So by 2030, we could see, a 45% recycled content target for a lot of other types of packaging, not only beverage bottles that we have today. So it's really increasing the targets, what we're seeing. These are, of course, just some informations based on current stakeholder consultations, but what we are expecting is that the targets will be high. For automotive, similarly, for the plastic content of cars, there could be an up to 15% recycled content that currently is being consulted with stakeholders.
You said high targets, I would say ambitious, really ambitious target. Sophia and Marco, what do you think? What will be the biggest challenge in meeting these really ambitious targets? What do you think? Sophia, please.
So if I go first, or Sophia first, please do.
Sophia, please.
Thank you. So first of all, I think one of the biggest challenges is the availability of recycled material. And I'm talking about global scale, because us in Reckitt, we have brands produced and sold around the globe, let's say. So we need to ensure PCR supply in different regions, which is quite a challenge. And also with that, I would highlight the quality of PCR material. So the quality affects different aspects. For example, consumer safety. If we are talking about consumer products, we really need to make sure that it is safe to use. The interaction between formula and the PCR material doesn't harm anything. It is safe and regulated. And also with this PCR quality, we have to make sure that we have to maintain a stable and efficient production process. For example, for our bottles, HDPE bottles, that we have an efficient process and that it's all, safe for the consumers.
Marco, please.
Yeah, if to add, and thanks, Sophia, also for that answer. In a sense, we can learn from history. Let me start there. If you look at where metals, glass, and paper were 25 years ago, the same question that now applies to us was applying to them. And we can learn from that process, meaning we need acceptance by the consumer. We need also our customers sometimes to pay more for the recycled content than what they would do today for virgin. So you need the market. You need the market demand, which is something that is coming rapidly, but needs to be expanded. You need the trust of the consumers and the acceptance in the market that it's safe, that it is truly sustainable, but also that recycled content indeed means recycled content, and that we have the verification that we deliver what we promise. Now then, setting up the logistics and infrastructure, the supply chain upstream, getting the waste sorted properly, collected properly, and being brought to our sites, be it mechanical or chemical. So in fact, the biggest challenge is now to expand from what is a niche to an ecosystem European-wide to meet these targets. And I actually have a past in the paper industry 6 years ago, it was interesting. We started in that industry with the Scandinavians finding it more comfortable to talk to the Canadians because they were both virgin material based, and the Germans talking to the Italians and the Spanish. Where you are at right now is that some of the Scandinavian companies are the biggest recycling companies in the world in that market. We've seen the same with glass, we've seen the same with metal. So in a sense, I'm quite optimistic. You'll see that companies like MOL and others who are now virgin petrochemical based will see a lot of growth coming from these recycled streams and will be the world leaders on those markets as well. But it requires the infrastructure, it requires, and maybe we come back to that, the acceptance and the trust also on chemical recycle, and it requires the markets to put forward the demand. I'm very confident, by the way, we can make this happen. We're just a bit behind on the other materials, and we have less years to see it come through.
Good to hear, Marco, that you're confident and very optimistic, as you said. We heard that packaging is one of the focus areas with a new proposal coming up this year. What else can we expect other than recycled content targets? Annette, I turn to you first.
So the other headline target of the EU Green Deal in terms of packaging is for all packaging to be reusable or recyclable by 2030. So this target is already set, and now we are awaiting the specific rules on actually the definitions and what this actually means in terms of how do you need to design a packaging item for it to be considered recyclable? What type of collection, sorting, and recycling infrastructure would there be already in place for this definition to apply to packaging?
Okay, Sophia, could you add something from your end?
Yes, sure. So we in Reckitt, we set ourselves the target that we have all of our packaging, 100% of the packaging recyclable or reusable by 2025. And we're working towards that goal in different ways, in different streams, let's say. So first of all, we have strong capabilities internally at Reckitt when it comes to packaging innovation. And there we really drive and push for this design for recycling in any sort of packaging development project. But with that, and it was mentioned before, we need to make sure that the infrastructure and, the on a larger scale, the whole system is actually also improving. So we are collaborating on different levels with external partners, with suppliers, and it's crucial for us to reach these goals because this is not a one-man show. Let's say it's really a team effort, and so we are really proud and happy to have these partners on that mission, let's say. And also, for example, in like global initiatives, for example, Holy Grail, where we are part of, I think they are really important in order to, improve and also rethink these structures and, for example, recycling systems and infrastructures at a very large scale. And here we need to work all together in order to have the big impact.
Okay. Coming back to Annette and regularity questions, in the context of the European Green Deal, the objective is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2015. Is this reflected in circular economy regulations, and what are the requirements for production processes and recycling technologies? Can you mention some?
Of course. So already the circular economy, as Marco mentioned, is already considered as an essential part of the Green Deal, because without becoming more resource efficient, without circular economy, we cannot achieve the climate neutrality target. But beyond its own contribution to climate neutrality, indeed, there is increasing focus also on the carbon emissions of products and of processes that enable the circular economy. So for example, the taxonomy regulation, which sets basically the certain classification criteria for sustainable economic activities. It already added certain CO2 emissions criteria for projects if they want to be considered sustainable. And this includes plastic production, this includes chemical recycling as well. And then not so long ago, a few weeks ago, the European Commission published its Sustainable Product Design Initiative, the Eco-Design Regulation it will be. And here actually we are expecting that certain product groups will be targeted, and beyond some circularity criteria like reusability or durability or recyclability, there will also be environmental and carbon footprint targets for certain product groups.
Coming back to carbon emissions, the chemical sector has its own specificity. Carbon is and will remain at the very heart of processes, as it is an essential element of many chemicals. Can the chemical sector decarbonize, Marco? What do you think? And how and when?
Oh, that's many questions in one. But it's a word that actually is very much used, and we understand it, but sort of goes against the heart of the chemists, indeed, who are aware of the crucial part of the carbon atom in every system. I've also met people who said we need to recarbonize the economy. We need to store as much carbon as we can in materials in order for it not to go into the sky, where it's indeed the problem. What we've done in Cefic is we've made a tool, and let me explain a bit. When I was young, we used to have discotheques with mixing panels. You could increase the volume and the bass and the speaker. I hope you've known those as well. What we've made is a modeling tool which, based on a market model, allows us to make as many scenarios as possible to go to climate neutrality. We can change the prices of electricity and hydrogen, and we can increase the volume and the demand. And from there, from using that model, there's quite a few lessons to learn. By the way, the model has a name. It's called IC 2050, and that's from the thought that every good computer actually has a name, like R2-D2 and 3CPO in Star Wars. IC 2050. Companies in our membership come and use the tool to test a number of assumptions. Now, what you see is we can decarbonize. It very much will have, we can become climate neutral. Let me be very specific in the language. Based on the modeling, you see that it will have a direct impact on CapEx, but for sure also on the OpEx. We'll see our cost levels increase. It will require a massive amount of renewable electricity. And that's the main bottleneck in Europe right now. How do we get as much renewable electricity on stream as soon as possible? You can also see that there's not one silver bullet. It will be about electrification, it could be about electric crackers, breakthrough technology, but also bio-based chemistry, hydrogen-based chemistry, and CO2-based chemistry, which in policy terms is now defined as sustainable carbon cycles. And there's one point to raise as well. This could work if we're able to properly manage the methane emissions from upstream oil and gas, which is such a big factor in the whole model that what you do on circular or bio-based gets annulled by the emissions upstream. So taking a full life cycle view, upstream reduction of the methane allows us to remove a large chunk of the emissions, then removing the emissions on site, breakthrough technologies, investments, electrification, hydrogen. Then on scope 3 downstream, maybe even the bigger challenge, the circular economy and recycling is going to be crucial. So I don't think it's a question if we can do, because the European law says it will be done. The question is, how can we do it as economic as possible, allowing the industry the time to change and use this as a competitive advantage, where we have this toolbox and we can run the different scenarios to do it. So that's an elaborate answer, but I hope it gives you a direction.
One more crucial thing, how about the regulatory acceptance of chemical recycling? It is considered recycling, if at all. Marco, please.
It is, I think we can say now, accepted in Brussels as one of the solutions. It's also clear that if you look at the entire waste stream, not everything can be done by mechanical recycling, but you will see in the regulations that mechanical gets a preference over chemical recycling. When we say it's been accepted in the regulation, we need the further translation in the regulatory views now coming. I think one of the key challenges we have is not the regulatory part, but again, the trust part of our customers and consumers, that when we do chemical recycling, it actually has a benefit also in terms of energy and climate, but also in being able to prove that what we chemically recycle actually ends up in the final product. So on the regulatory side, I think we're making progress. There's a good example in Spain, for example, where taxation for chemical recycling is made equal to the mechanical recycling. Challenge for industry, we have promised on chemical recycling. We are starting up projects. There's an investment of another company, Eastman, of 900 million in France. But a lot of projects are still in the pilot phase and need to be further expanded. So we're really looking forward to real big size investments coming. And I think the moment they come, the regulatory side will be ready to embrace this, what I think is a crucial solution on solving not only Europe's waste issue, solving the climate issue, but also on the competitiveness of our industry, that we get this done. So again, quite optimistic, but it has to happen now. We can't wait much longer.
Annette, the regulatory side was mentioned often by Marco.
Well, indeed, just to echo what Marco said, so basically the regulatory definition of recycling is currently more or less technology neutral, so any kind of process that processes waste into a substance or material can be accepted as recycling. But indeed, the technical details, I think, still need to be clarified in the regulation in terms of how to take into account chemical recycling when we calculate recycling rates or when we calculate recycled content targets. How exactly and how much it can count is still being laid down, but I would agree that it's going in the good direction.
Okay, we have a little time for closing remarks. How do you see the future of plastic in this highly regulated environment? Firstly, maybe Annette, and then I give the floor to our online guests.
Okay, so I would say that despite the geopolitical circumstances today, the Green Deal really remains the priority of the EU, and maybe even more so to create our independence from the geopolitical circumstances. So the Green Deal remains here, and plastics do have a future in this zero-emission world. But to have a place in this zero-emission world, we will see increasing requirements for plastics to meet. And these requirements will need to be followed. They will require a lot of investments, but also those who will be able to provide those good quality recycled materials and circular products like packaging will have really a role in the coming 30 years.
30 years. Okay. Sophia, please.
So in order, to meet these or to follow these regulations, but also to do the right thing, I think it's important that we, first of all, reduce the use of plastic by, for example, redesigning packaging, but also exploring alternative materials to replace plastic where possible. But we will still need plastic. That's not a question. Plastic has some really good and fantastic properties, obviously. So because of that, we need to push towards a circular stream, towards a circular system at a very large scale. And that means enhancing the effectiveness of the recycling streams. That means enhancing the effectiveness of the quality, maintaining quality, as I mentioned before, is quite crucial also from a consumer, for a consumer perspective. And for that, I think every stakeholder, everyone involved in that system, every player needs to contribute to that. And it should happen in a coordinated way, right? So less fragmented initiatives, rather big and coordinated initiatives in order to have that really big impact. And I'd like to add also not collaboration, amongst partners or competitors or, amongst ourselves, let's say, but also very close collaboration with the ones that actually publish and work on these regulations. So policies makers, we need to be on top of what they are doing. We need to collaborate in order to come forward to really make big steps towards our goal. And one last point when it comes to collaboration is, I think, the consumers, and it was mentioned before, and I'd like to stress that as well, because collaboration, or rather maybe conversation with consumers, is really crucial. We need to educate, especially us as Reckitt, we're close with our brands, with our products to the consumer, so we need to educate and communicate to the consumer, but by, first of all, providing the right packaging, but also by educating it through very transparent and trustworthy and trustful communication with them.
Thank you very much. And Marco, your closing remarks, please.
Thank you. So, think opportunity. That's my general attitude. If we can manage what is in fact a carbon management system, recycling is a way of managing the carbon in the materials. Make sure we get rid of the emissions into the air, make sure we avoid any plastic going into the environment, make sure we get the circular plastic economy running. It's all opportunity for the company who has recycled content, fully recyclable or biodegradable, coming into the markets. So I think there's one huge opportunity. Second one is value versus volume. If we refocus on a number of markets into value and not in volume, again, a huge opportunity. And that's maybe a final say in wording. In German, plastic is called Kunststoff, not plastic, and the connotation is with the word plastic, which I think if you relate it comes to the issues we see nowadays that we have to solve as an industry, whereas no one disputes a car bumper or an iPhone, which is also partly plastic. So if we find the right spot for this amazing material, if we treat it properly, if we make sure that it's taken care of properly, this material will remain and has a massive function to fulfill. Lots of challenges, but with challenges come opportunities. And the first company managing this carbon cycle, recycled circular economy approach definitely has a great market to supply to.
Thank you very much, Sophia, Marco, and Annette, for this very interesting conversation. Now let's move on to another topic. Let me welcome László Büdi, Polymer market expert and editor-in-chief on the well-known Polymer Price Report Weekly. In his presentation, he will give you an overview of recent polymer market developments, lessons learned, and trends for the month ahead. And don't forget, we are awaiting your questions via the online interface.
Good morning, everyone. My name is László Büdi, General Manager of MySepi. We publish the weekly commodity price report in Central Europe, which shows the actual situation of the market every week. In my presentation, I'm going to talk about the experience after several COVID waves and the challenges under the shadow of Ukrainian-Russian war. On the next slide, you can see what's happened with the polymer high prices since the beginning of 2020 till today. In the first site, we can see that there is a steep price increase. There were a steep price increase in the last year, springtime, and we have a similar in this year. But there are few differences. But before we're talking about the differences, I think it's very important to look through what is the reason behind the low price and what is the reason this price hike and the high price as well, because the situation totally changed in the last 2 years. In the beginning of 2020, the tendency which started in the middle of 2010s, that due to the overseas supply, the availability of the polymer material were very high and very wide on the market. Therefore, the prices started decreasing. The downward price trend started in the end of 2018 and continued on till the first wave of the COVID. The COVID bring some changes, but we didn't see immediately. What was these changes? Of course, the price went down due to the lack of the demand on the market. After the restoration, the flat and the downward price trend is remained till mid of October. But something is changed. What is changed? The availability of the material is gone from the market, appeared the market. The European producer, due to the very low prices, start to exporting the Turkish and the Far Eastern market. It was a big surprise for me. And due to this export activity, the European market became short in the every polymer point of view. When you and the plastic converters realized there is no enough material, immediately everybody start to buy. The problem was the following. There were no availability on the market, and there were no enough free material on the market, one hand. On the other hand, the problem was the plastic converters has no enough material in stock. The average polymer stock level is decreased dramatically compared to the previous periods. Because before 2015, the plastic converters, and after 2015, the plastic converters keep on stock minimum 30 days polymer for the production. And after the wide supply period, between 2017 and 2020, the polymer stocks decreased in every converters. But that occurred, the big and steep price increase in 2021 springtime, because there were no enough material on stock. Everybody wanted to produce. The demand was very healthy due to the COVID, due to the increasing consumer demand, but there were no enough on the market. Of course, in May, the prices reached the top, because every price has a top. But after the correction, we believe, and we collect an experience, okay, the big price increase has come and gone, and okay, we must to have enough material on stock. This is the big difference in this year, because in this year, the prices started increasing again, but the reason behind it was absolutely different. The reason was the increasing price of energy and feedstock cost. It started in November last year, but continued on due to the unexpected Russian-Ukrainian war, which bring the shadow on the market, which bring shadow in the supply, which bring the very steep price increase. And we don't know where is the end of this price. Because the energy and feedstock price increase, I'm sure it will not be ended until the end of the war. And nobody knows when it will be the end. In the next graph, you can see, and we would like to illustrate, what is the difference between the two price hike in 2021 and this year. You can see on the figures two lines and the columns. One of the lines is the polymer price. In our case, low density film price. The another is ethylene monomer price, and the columns shows the difference between them. The difference between them we called spread. The spread shows how profitable the polymer production. Theoretically, the spread is the coverage of the production cost and the coverage of the profit of the polymer producer. You can see on the figures it's very strange. In the beginning of 2020, the spread was negative. It means due to the oversupply, due to the competition, on the hard competition on the market, the European polymer producer, the Central European polymer producer, must to sell their polymers below the price of the monomers. It resulted the negative spread in the case of polyethylene. The situation is changed due to the COVID, because the polymer price, of course, went down, and went down the monomer price better, and it resulting the positive margin, positive spread again. But the spread start to increasing dramatically when the steep price hike period is come in 2021. But this 2021 situation, when the maximum spread exceed the 1,000 euro, which is seriously high, which is never seen big, it's corrugated and corrected back when the prices went down and when the market is normalized. I think that this high spread, it was due to the uncertainty of the market, the tight supply situation, and that was the reason, and the short but a good period for the plastic converters. The spread corrugated back to the normal level somewhere between 400 and 600 euro, which is ensure profitability and production cost for the resin manufacturers. And plus, at this time, the polymer prices corrugate back to the normal level. We start to implement the new experiences. Since last year, springtime, May, every plastic converters collect safety stock, which is minimum 1 month, lot of cases. And nowadays, as I see, some converters collect bigger 1.5 or 2 months stock for ensure their supply. It's occurred this different situation in this year price hikes, because there is no must to buy. The main question of the for the plastic converters, where will be the end of the price increases? Because how they use their safety stock. It is increasing or use them, or even the situation could be better, could be similar than the last year, that we reach the top somewhere in May or maybe in June, and after it we corrugate back. It's very hard to speak about it, because you can see the spread is smaller than in the last year, even increasing the polymer prices, but the spread is decreasing. What is the reason behind it? The reason is very simple. The increasing feedstock price and pushing up the polymer prices as well. The problem is that the problem started in November of the last year, when the energy, natural gas and electricity prices reach a very high level, which has never been before. It was a question for the polymer producer, how they handle this situation. Increase the prices, build in the prices, the higher energy cost, or do something different. Some Western European polymer producer thinking about that, okay, implement a kind of energy surcharge, which enabled to divide this extra production cost from the normality. And it was an idea, a lot of companies are thinking about it, but only few of them apply. I think, and evaluate this energy surcharge, it was the better solution, because at this time in November, nobody knows what will be the result, the implementation of the energy surcharge, because the energy prices increasing toward in this year. And some cases, and the majority of the monomer producer and polymer producer repressed back and keep back the energy price in their product. And now in April, we facing with the problem that the monomer production and the polymer production start to produce a negative profit, not spread, just a profit. Therefore, it was a must in April. Everybody must to increase their prices. First, the monomer producer, and we facing a significant price increase. The second, in the polymer producer. Therefore, in April, starting to increase the prices very dramatically and very steeply. The question is, where will be the end? As I mentioned in my previous slide, nobody knows, because the energy prices dependent, and we are dependent on the supply of the eastern direction, because the Central European polymer producer, oil refineries and feedstock producer also importing oil and natural gas from east. Another examination regarding what is the differences between the two price hikes. The another one what we examined is the price ranges. The price ranges is the difference between the lowest and the highest prices on the market. We're working from our data. You could see on the next graph the average polymer prices since beginning of 2020, and the columns shows the price ranges. It's visible in the calm period due to the COVID and during the first wave of the COVID, the price range was very small, below 100 euro. It is a normality. It means that the polymer producer knows the exact market price, knows how is the market working, what their competitors is doing. They, let's say, harmonized their pricing policy. And after when the panic, the supply panic in 2021 is coming, you can see the price ranges is growing because nobody knows what is the exact price. Sometimes we find on the market and we met the information. Some polymer producers has come out with €200 price increase in 2020 in April or May. And after it, during the months, increase the price again with another 200, 300 euro. That's the reason why the price ranges is growing and extending. And the price ranges is normalized after summer of the last year. And now is the situation is a little bit different because the price increasing as in the last year very steeply, but the price ranges doesn't change, even decreasing. Because the price increase is based on to the monomer and feedstock price increase as well. Therefore, everybody knows what is the situation. There is no supply problem. On the other hand, there is an experience and there is a stock at the plastic converters. You have a stock as well. You're just thinking about what do with this stock. Keep this stock, buying new material, because nobody knows how continue and how long last will be this increasing pricing period. In this picture, you can see the effects are different in 2021 and 2022, which drive up the prices, the polymer prices. Just an illustration. The last year, in 2021, the polymer price increase, the low availability of the polymer materials occurred by the increasing sea freight cost, the lack of the availability of the containers, and lot of logistic issue. And this year, we're facing with the problem in the last quarter, that the problem was different because the energy price, especially the natural gas and the electricity price, start to increase in October. There were several reasons. The one of them was the ETS market, because then the ETS market, the price of the ETS is hikes. Therefore, the power station and the user of natural gas must to pay more and more after the CO2 emission. And on the other hand, there were no enough availability of natural gas because the Europe start to transform its purchasing policy in the last year. More LNG, overseas LNG, less fixed contract natural gas from Russian direction. Therefore, the natural gas price starting to increase in November. And we thought in the January and the new year will be better. Nobody expect that the newer crisis on the natural gas market. And you could see the prices go the never seen level when the war, the Russian-Ukrainian war is started. And now the price searching its way, but visible, the tendency shows the upward trend. I must say that what we have known so far is transforming. We're facing a different world, but some factors will be same. That the lack of the problem in the transportation, in the logistic, remain with us. There is a problem with the availability of containers. There is a problem with the sea freight. There is no enough capacity, but not due to the lack of the ships, but the congestion of the ports. Every port has its own traffic jam in North America, Europe, and Far East. Different effects are everywhere, but the result is same than in the last year. You're facing, if you order something from Far East or North America, it takes 2 months when the polymer materials will arrive to you. This is one important factor. But not only the sea transportation is a problem. The problem also the road transportation. There is no enough truck. There is no enough truck driver, partly due to the Ukrainian war. But on the other hand, due to the rules in the European transportation. The truck drivers need more rest, therefore it needs less driving hour, it means less capacity. Oil and natural gas price I think it's remain on the same high level. There is no hope for decreasing, for the correction in the prices. The reason is very simple. Europe will divide from the Eastern energy sources. It takes a year redrawing the pipelines, redrawing and looking for alternative supplies. Therefore, we will facing in the next months, maybe years, with the lack of the supply in energy, in oil, in feedstock, maybe in monomers and polymers as well. We must to create alternatives, and I'm sure we will do it. But it takes time, and during this time, the prices remain on high level. I don't see the significant reason, the significant effect, which could decrease the polymer prices in Europe. Of course, there will be seasonality. There will be lower price in summertime than in springtime, or the autumn time prices will be higher than the summertime prices, but the level of the prices in general will be higher. I am sure that the polymer producer will solve the supply problem. I not expect such a lack of polymers like in 2021, and you will be smarter. It means that you play with a bigger polymer stock, you play the clever game than before. The question is the decision. As I see, the majority of the plastic converters doesn't play a game. They follow the very safety rules. Minimum 1 month stock, which is enabled that the continuous production. On the other hand, continuous evaluation of the polymer market. What's happened and what is expectable. And I think it's very important now that communicate very directly and very straightway with your buyer. Because the key question, how do you implement the price increase? Because there is no room, any kind of losses on the market. Because if you lose money now, you never or very late earn back. I think this is the time of the inflation, which is one hand bad, another hand is good. If we communicate very brave way and very straight way that we must to increase their prices because our production cost is increasing, I think your customers will be accepted because everybody want to produce, everybody want to sell, everybody want to earn money. This is the reality, this is our future. But I want to turn back in my next slide, a different topic. This different topic is a big challenge for everyone in Europe. In the next picture, you could see the comparison of recycled polymer prices with the virgin polymer prices since the beginning of 2021 till today. Why from 2021? That was the time when we established the recycled polymer price publication or report, and we could compare the virgin polymer prices with the recycled plastics prices. We collect information for low density and PP homo injection molding grades. You can see that in the last year, during the very volatile price period, when the virgin polymers price goes up and down, during this time, the recycled materials remain reluctant and the price remained very flat. Something has happened in the last quarter of the 2021. What has happened that the demand of recycled material is increasing dramatically. Behind this demand was the effort of every consumer goods producer that built in more recycled materials in their product, in line with the European regulation, in line with the European Union efforts. And we're facing with the problem, there is no enough material on stock, there is no availability of recycled material. Some cases we met with the recycling companies who sold everything for this year till end of January. Unbelievable situation, of course, without prices. Because everybody want to buy, and the price is not a question now. Because if the plastic converters, if you have an effort, an obligation to build up more and more recycling material, you should pay any price. And this is what we see on the graph now. What does it mean for us? It means that recycling plastic price will approach the virgin polymer prices despite the expectable price increase in the virgin polymers. What is behind? Why we couldn't produce much recycled materials? The problem is very simple. Because our collection method in Central Europe is not fit for the requirement of recycling companies. The situation is very strange. The Central European recycling companies importing the household waste from Western Europe, especially in Germany. That's the problem now. I think to solve the problem or slowing the price increase in the recycled materials, we must to implement different regulation. We must to implement a different collection method, especially in household level. I think it's a big challenge for all of us, but we should to solve. We must to communicate with the governments, with the politicians, and we must to propose some implementation collection method, because it could enable for us the continuous supply of the recycled material. And there is another question, because we couldn't use too much recycled material because there is theoretically no enough waste in the market, recyclable waste. And therefore, I think we must to maximize how much percentage could be and should be in the plastic end product. Because, for example, in case of Hungary, we see 150,000 waste for recycling. It is not too much if we compare with the consumption, which is close to 1 million tons altogether, all of the plastics. Visible that there is no room for the total substitution of the virgin polymers with recycling polymers. So, this is the changes. These are the changes what we are facing. The increasing virgin polymer price, the increasing recycling polymer price, how we could survive. I think it's the only solution. You must be smarter than before. You must be you need more strategical thinking, and I think the way is opened. We will survive, we will solve this problem, and I think the plastics industry future is very brave. Without plastic, the modern society couldn't work and couldn't live. I would continue the discussion with you. Instead of saying goodbye, I propose let's continue the discussion. I wait for your question and comments, and let's continue on.
Thank you very much, László, for this overview and for joining us for answering the questions. Among us again, Annette and Marco online. Sophia from Reckitt Benckiser had to leave earlier, unfortunately, due to other commitments. So let's see the questions we received. The first one goes to Marco. What about carbon footprint in chemical recycling?
Really relevant question, because in the end you see that some of the chemical recycling processes are quite energy intensive. So it's something we're working on. Not all technologies will have the right carbon footprint, but you also see over time as technologies develop that actually the performance of the technologies will get better. So core question to the debate on chemical recycling, if we can do it in a way that in the end is more climate friendly than the alternative as such. So it's not the only argument, but it's definitely something to look into, to work to get the numbers right and to make sure we improve.
Thank you, Marco. Next question, what is the plastic tax? Who has to pay for it? Annette, I think this is your side.
Indeed, so actually it's not really a tax, it's a levy. This is something that member states have to pay as part of their budgetary contributions to the EU. So basically they have to pay this based on the amount of non-recycled plastic packaging waste that is generated in the country. So for now, it's really not a tax. It is, in most cases, not passed on to producers or even consumers, paid by the member states, but we'll see how this amount, this levy, will be further passed on in the future.
Okay. Next question regarding prices. How do you see price difference between recycled market and prime material market?
That's a very good question. As I mentioned in my presentation, that the recycled material price will exceed the prime material price soon. And I think we are in a historical time now, because as I see on the market, the cheapest PP homo injection molded grades price is around 1,800 euro. And the most expensive recycled PP homo price is above 1,800 euro. So that we are very close to the moment when the recycled material price will exceed the virgin material price long term. Of course, we're talking about a very good quality recycled material price.
Okay. When does the EU provide any guidance for bio-based polymers?
Also a very good question. So indeed, for now, the circular economy related regulation has been more focused on the recycled content side and on recycling. But actually this year in July, the Commission will publish its first policy framework on bio-based, biodegradable and compostable plastics. This means that for the first time there will be some policy guidance on what the EU is expecting from bio-based plastics. It will still not be a legislative proposal, but just a framework. And as part of this, we will see that the EU clearly sees a role for bio-based plastics, as they have an opportunity to replace fossil feedstocks and therefore improve the environmental impact of fossil-based plastics. But at the same time, they will put a really big emphasis on the other types of environmental impacts that these bio-based plastics could have along their life cycle. So this means that probably we will see some sustainability criteria presented in terms of the feedstock. So the feedstock will have to meet certain sustainability criteria to be able to be used for these plastics. But at the same time, for selected applications, we might see that there will be some mandatory bio-based content targets for plastics. So a framework coming, much more clarity that we can expect on sustainability requirements and potentially some targets.
Do we have a timeline regarding
this framework? Will be announced in July if it will not be delayed. So July 2022 is when we first see something, and then actually the legislative developments from this can be 1 or 2 years later when we have exact clarity on the plans.
Okay, thank you. Next question, how does the EU reconcile directives regarding food contact packaging and PCR in case of primary packaging? I think this is also to you, but Marco, if you have something to add, please give us a sign, okay?
Okay, so, well, this is an area where actually safety of plastics and sustainability of plastics has to meet. For food contact materials, really the #1 priority for the EU regulation is safety, to make sure that these materials, when they come into contact with food, they do not have any adverse effects on human health and also do not have any harmful effects on food safety. And this is also what the regulation on recycled food contact materials and recycled plastic food contact materials follows. It's been a very stringent process on evaluating every recycling process and taking a look at how they decontaminate that waste that they are processing and how they can really make sure that that material in the end is safe. Now this regulation is being revised because the process has been quite slow. Many of these authorizations have been stuck in the process. So now, with a view to speeding things up, the regulation is being revised, and we will see that hopefully the process will be faster and some novel technologies will actually be able to be placed on the market before their final approval to have some time to gather data and to prove their safety. But at the same time, the food contact area will always remain something that is focused on safety, and it will never take into account the need on the market for more food contact grade materials. So safety will always come first here, but hopefully with a view to sustainability, the rules will become a bit more flexible and faster.
Okay, thank you. How will the foreseen registration of polymers in REACH impact plastic production? Marco, it's
yeah. You have amazing questions, I should tell you, because I don't even get these questions asked in my own team on a daily basis. But first stage, it won't, because it's a registration. So we're talking about administrative costs going up. But then, of course, as the registration continues, you'll see what we used to call polymers of concern, but now polymers that require registration, be followed up with classification and consequence limitations in the market. But on the short term, I would see it very much as an exercise of registration, not directly yet on an impact on the market. Long term, of course, it will limit a number of polymers in their applications. Again, and we just mentioned food contact, for health and safety reasons mainly, can be used or not. But I would see that mid-term, not short-term.
Okay. What impact will the expansion of granulates have on polymer prices?
Already good question that regarding that the effect. I think it's a little bit we change the role of different kind of polymers. We will meet more recycling materials because the demand is continuously growing. The actual problem is there is no enough waste, as I mentioned in my presentation.
Okay.
It's strange, but there is no enough. That is a main driving factor of the pricing of recycled material. I think on the other hand is it could be important to ensure the continuous quality of the recycled material, because actually that is a problem. Every truck, even every pallets could be different based on, because the waste is different, that there is no continuous quality waste. And I think it could be the solution if we blending the virgin materials with the recycled materials. And I think it's a big response rate and a big opportunity for the polymer manufacturers producing recycled content virgin materials, which ensure for the average plastic converters the continuous production.
If recycled material prices become higher than virgin ones, as you mentioned before, don't you think that this kind of situation might kill recycled material demand?
I don't think so, because there is a regulation, there is a must to use a recycled material. On one hand, it is not a question of the use of the recycled materials. What we see on the market now, more and more is in the recycled material case, it's not problem the price, because the retail companies, the plastic end product buyer easily accept the higher prices if there is a significant recycled content, if not. I think it's a problem, the high price of the virgin materials, because much more, it's not easy to sell the high price plastic end products. This is the actual problem of the plastic converters now. I think the recycling, this could be a solution of the high prices.
Staying on the prices, what price level do you expect for the second half of the year?
There
are circumstances which are
yes, very, very difficult situation in globally, not only the war in Ukraine. On the other hand, there is the recession, a kind of recession on the market, and we will see on the stock exchange and everywhere. The situation is very uncertain. There is two kind of panic now, what I see actually. One of them, one part of the plastic converters buy nothing, because they believe that the price will restoring, let's say, the normal level, which is not exist anymore, before the COVID level. This is the one. On the other hand, the bigger converters avoid the lack of the supply. Therefore, they start to buying now because they evaluate the situation is very uncertain, the supply point of view. So that's very hard to tell anything regarding the prices, but I am sure the price will be the same level than now, around the 2,000 euro, if you're talking about the polyolefin prices. Because a lot of effect, the energy will not be cheaper, The supply is uncertain. The oil prices remain the same level. We see some correction in the naphtha prices, but I am sure it will go back and turning in the upward direction. So that I think it's nobody couldn't wait for lower prices. I think this similar price level remain in the second half of this year.
The prices, of course, are a very crucial question. So one more, what do you expect regarding the price of good quality granulates compared to virgin materials of long run?
I'm sure it will be a price premium on long run. The question is how it will be. I heard and I know that the good quality, for example, I'm just talking about the examples because there is no constant quality, as I mentioned in the recycled material. In the good quality, stable MFR and stable characteristic recycled polymers price. If you're talking about PP copolymer, it could be above 2,000 euro now. But in 1800 is absolutely typical on the market in the case of good quality. Of course, we could see that different prices on the market because the 1300, the 1350 also available on the market, but the quality is also a question mark. That I think this is a problem with the recycled material, the quality, and very hard to compare with one material with another, even in one company in different weeks or different time.
Thank you very much. What do you think are the biggest barriers for the chemical industry's sustainable transition? Marco, I think that's for you.
Yes, and thanks for that question, because I'm happy with all the price questions, but I'm not allowed to answer those, as trade federations only talk statistics and they don't talk prices. But on a more generic term, I think the key challenge is not so much the capex, but it's the opex in the end for the sustainability transition in Europe. If you look at Europe as a relatively stable market, of course we're growing, but not the scale of other regions in the world, then inventing new sustainable technologies is one thing, but actually investing them in Europe is going to be the key challenge. Where the capex can be supported by governments, but the opex will come back every year, and that's what subsidies don't take care of. So for us to succeed, the cost curves of new technologies need to come down, and then we need this attractive environment for investments in Europe. And if you look today, I think that's where the key challenge lies, in a region with very high energy cost, which is unstable, and for what we can see will remain unstable on the eastern border for some time to come, which on the other hand, of course, is a very wealthy market with consumers that have spending power, even though consumer confidence is down right now. The real question is not can we transition, the real question is not can we develop the technologies to transition. The real question for us is, if we do, would then Europe be the place where this will be invested in? And I think the likely answer is probably not greenfield, but brownfield, and probably depending on a number of front runners. So key challenge of everything out there is the OPEX. If you then look at customer demand, I think that's then where the change can come. And that's a positive of the story we just heard. It's actually really interesting that customers with recycled prices above virgin are willing to pay the premium, because for decades there was lots of wishes, but no one was willing to pay the premium at the end of the day. If we can get our main customers to look at more sustainable solutions, and they're able to translate that premium of sustainability into their markets, then we make big steps. And I think that's doable, because even a double-digit price increase on our side doesn't make the huge difference on a car, on a paint, on even a packaging in the supermarket. So if we can cross that bridge, the translation of these extra costs to our consumers, plus the fact, would you then invest it in Europe, then maybe one element remains, and then I'll hand it back to you, which is the risk we see now of the whole inflationary pressure on consumer markets, which is is going to become a very crucial element in the debate if consumers keep buying, which, of course, next to the OPEX is an important part as well. But OPEX is the core one for Europe, and then would you invest it in Europe? Which, that's why I'm happy to be with you. Some companies will by heart be more European than others. Some will not make the investments and wait it out, or milk the cow, as we say in Dutch. Others will feel the European part of their business and do invest here. And those are the companies, as you can imagine, we like the most in CEF. Thanks.
Thanks, Marco. And coming back to EU regulations, our next question is, considering these EU regulations, for the RPP percentage in the packaging to be met, can we use both PIR and PCR RPP? Does EU refer only to PCR?
Very good question. This is not yet decided. So what I mentioned in the previous panel before the Q&A is that the first recycled content targets were set for beverage bottles, and for beverage bottles now a calculation methodology is being developed on exactly how to calculate that 25% of PET in the beverage bottle. And there we haven't seen the final calculation methodology, so it's not clear whether both post-industrial and post-consumer waste will be approved. There is a tendency in the EU that only post-consumer waste is that they would like to account towards these targets, as that's the waste issue that needs to be solved in the EU. For packaging, as I mentioned, the new recycled content targets for all applications are coming this July, if no delays. And there as well, similarly, not clear yet what type of feedstock will be accepted, but we've seen some plans that, for example, if a 35% target is set, then maybe a small part of that, maybe 5% of that could be met with post-industrial waste, but the rest would have to be post-consumer. But this is still just speculation, so some things that we've seen and we still need to wait.
Okay. Our last question. Could the recycled materials offer equal quality to the virgin ones? The plastic has a shelf life before it becomes brittle. Could recycling avoid this aspect? Who could answer this question?
I think it should be the mutual answer. I think it's my perspective, as I see that the actual problem, it's not equal, the virgin and the recycled material. The quality of the recycled material, of course, is lower due to the degradation during the recirculation process. Not the color. That's a lot of differences, and I think we must how can I say, accept these changes in our life, or packaging will not be beautiful than before. And of course,
are we ready for this?
I think it could be a fashion that we accept the lower quality in the packaging.
Well, I would say maybe two things. So one is that I think existing systems can still be improved. So for example, with the improvement of collection and sorting, and really separating those streams well enough can really improve the quality of the waste, the cleanness of the waste, and then actually the quality of recyclates that is then produced. That's one thing. And then the other thing, and maybe Marco can add more to that, is that the new technologies like chemical recycling will provide an opportunity and an answer to the quality issue, because the recyclates produced by chemical recycling, or for example solvent-based recycling, can have close to virgin quality, and that means that they can solve this issue of quality differences between virgin and recyclates.
Marco, do you have something to add? And since we are approaching the end of the event, maybe also a closing remark.
Yeah, maybe I'll do the two things. So the first one here indeed is, I think both answers are true, and you'll get different qualities for different applications, and you'll get, in a sense, the market sorting this out. So yes, chemical recycling will deliver new solutions. Also, I should say, towards maybe more challenging materials like food contact might sometimes bring better solutions than other recycling technologies, depending on the processes, of course. But also the market will sort it out, and part will be niche and part will not be. But maybe the final remark to make is sometimes we can learn from history, but also from other materials. If you would see where recycled glass and recycled metals and recycled paper were at the beginning of their recycling journey compared to where they are right now, a massive transformation has also taken place. And in that sense, I'm very much a person who is an optimist. The first days, and I don't know if you remember, of recycled paper, it gave so much dust in the copy paper machine that it was not useful. Now, the majority is recycled. The first days of recycled glass, the color was an issue, now it's not. So my faith in technology, my faith in the innovation power of this industry, that I think that 5, 10, 15 years from now will conclude that recycled will be as wanted and as high in quality as the virgin materials. And you'll see a second development, which is that the companies who now define them as virgin companies, or maybe now the niche companies who now define themselves as recycled companies, they will merge into companies who sell the mix and the package. And some of our virgin material leaders of today will be the recycled material leaders of the future, be it by blending or be it by selling the separate streams. So we're at the beginning, we're not at the end. Looking at other materials, there's just one conclusion, and I hope that becomes true. There's a gigantic market opportunity out there. And the smartest and the fastest company will take that one. And that the market, in a sense, and the opportunity will drive us forward and will bring the innovation. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Annette, Laszlo, and Marco for joining us today and giving answers. And thank you very much for the questions. And as you may know, we do a recording for the whole event, so you can re-watch the whole event, all the presentations after this event on the website. So please do so. Thank you very much again. Now our Circularity powered by MOL Group Professional Forum has come to an end. Many thanks to our experts for their presentations, discussions, and all the answers. And thanks to you for your active participation. Before leaving the online event, please give us a quick feedback, I hope a positive one, by using the feedback menu. Let me inform you that if you want to watch the presentations and discussions later, for a whole week, you will find them on this site and then on MOL Group's LinkedIn and YouTube channels. I wish you a great day and successful work. Goodbye.